Learning to confront difficulties is vital. It's crucial to start a focused attack on difficulties because one of the finest methods to aid someone in communication is to learn to address what's wrong. But here's the essential refinement. A skill that leaders must develop target the problem, not the person. We also encourage a tactic called attack and confess. One of the finest ways to combat an issue is to acknowledge that you've encountered it yourself. Use yourself as the initial example, then bring in others, what we call the third-party technique. For instance, let me tell you about Mary. If she were here, she'd confess. But because she's not, I'll do it for her. She procrastinated. She battled with it. And if she were here, she may even persuade you with tears. That's third party. But one of the finest approaches is to use the first party, you, to attack the problem directly. Now, what are some aspects that need to be addressed? Let me give you a few instances. The list is enormous, but we'll focus on a few, and you can continue studying them on your own. First up, procrastination. This one is front and center. We have to tackle procrastination because it's so insidious. It sucks away enormous parts of your life and leaves you backed into a corner, putting things off, delaying, letting it slide. Now, I'm one of the best individuals to talk about procrastination because I confess I've been one of the all-time great procrastinators. I've accomplished a lot, but I've also postponed a lot. Procrastination. I was so good at it, I could teach it. I could show you how to do it so well that no one would ever notice. But I also know the ache of procrastination. I know the regret it brings. I can show you chunks of my life that are missing, irreparable, because I let things pass. If we all study our own lives and wish to assist others escape this pernicious habit, we must use ourselves as the finest example. We feel the strongest about our own experiences and feelings. Can you help someone with procrastination? Yes, by gaining the skill of reflecting on your own life, comprehending the emotions related to it, and expressing just how devastating it can be. Show them what their lives can be lacking if they let things slip away. That's what we call learning to approach the problem. Underline the term attack. It's necessary to go after the insidious. A famous leader in Christianity once stated, "The things I once hated, I now love. The things I once liked, I now loathe." It's essential to incorporate both love and hate in the same conversation. Now, let me present the dilemma. This is not easy. It's so simple to be reckless with words and get the wrong reaction. What if you wanted to say, "What's troubling you?" but instead said, "What's wrong with you?" Can you see the difference? Just one simple word change makes all the difference in the emotion you get. Here's the challenge: target the problem, not the person. Even God has this difficulty. He adds, "I love you, but I hate your sinful ways." That's a challenge. Showing love while also denouncing what is wrong. How do you put love and hate in the same sentence? It's necessary to express scorn for the problem and concern for the person's value. These are not easy skills. You don't perfect intellectual clarity, word choice, and emotional depth overnight. But your commitment to excellence in communication can make all the difference in how your personal, social, and economic environment plays out. Here's part of the challenge. God says, "I love you, but I hate your sinful ways. But since my sinful ways and I are so closely intertwined, I tend to take it personally." And God needs to say, "No, let me make it clear again. I love you, but I hate your sinful ways." We have to make this clear to our children, to others. I love you, but I hate what you're doing and what it's doing to you. You must learn to put love and hate in the same sentence. Make the insidious as awful as it truly is, and the opportunity as dazzling as it possibly be. We must utilize language and emotions to show how much we dislike the wrong in order to develop the good. Some problems cannot be treated softly. You can't take a gentle approach to the weeds in your garden. You must detest them enough to destroy them. If something threatens what's valuable, you must go after it with high intensity, with strong words, precise terminology, and deep emotion, whatever it takes to get the job done. Only then can we really portray the evil that must be removed and the chances that must be seized. Good. Now, these are not easy talents, but if you want to extend your reach, in my opinion, you just have to engage in the confrontation. That's where the values are. Let me give you an excellent philosophical phrase. All values must be gained via contest, and after they've been gained, they must be defended. You remark, wow, you've put a pretty heavy task on us. That's what life is all about. A fairly heavy challenge. We don't offer large trophies for minor achievements. If you want to win high health, if you want to win high riches, if you want to extend a long reach in impacting people's lives, you've got to engage in some of these extra powerful disciplines. One is to secure the area with energy, and the other is to defend it with equal challenge. Attack procrastination. Here's another one, blame. I engaged in this for a major part of my life until I met Mr. Schoaf. I used to blame my negative relatives. I used to blame the government. I used to blame taxes. I used to blame prices. I remarked, it costs too much. Schoaf said, no, let's cover the real problem. You can't afford it. I thought, wow, I never looked at it like that before. Schoaf said, sir, you must cognitively understand, it's not it that's your problem, it's you that's your problem. It's not out there, that's the problem. Out there has been the same for 6,000 years. You can't heal that, but what you can cure are errors in judgment, errors in attitude, errors in activity, errors in misjudging results. I found that the errors were within, but see, he had to go after me on that point. Here's the second one, excuses. Wow, we've got 1 million. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have the money. I don't have the experience. On and on with the excuses. Learning to tackle them is really important. Now, here's what we call tools of last resort. Here's part of the attack you can utilize, and if you develop these skills, there's no telling who you can help. But you must save these for what we call tools of last resort. These are things you don't utilize up front. Here's the first one, a straight attack. You've got to be very careful with a direct attack so that it isn't misinterpreted in severity. Next is scolding. You've got to be very careful with scolding. You only use it as a last resort. Somebody walks in late, and you say, where have you been? See, that's loaded with insinuations. You've got to be careful. Only use it when absolutely required. If you have to resort to it, you have to, but don't use it up front. We say, keep these for when the occasion warrants for such strong language. And the last one is sarcasm. Sarcasm can be useful, but you have to conserve it. Who do you think you are? See, that's powerful language, but you've got to reserve it for moments when it's truly meaningful. Matters of the heart are delicate. Here's what we teach. Don't operate on the heart with a hatchet. When you utilize these instruments, you must be very careful to save the value and go after the problem. Now, let me offer you the true clue. The more you care, the stronger you can be. People don't mind you using strong language about devious things. They don't mind you becoming bright, powerful, as long as you care. And the more you care, the stronger you may be. I don't mind a pastor consigning my soul to hellfire for my immoral ways. I don't mind that, as long as he does it with tears and not with joy. But wouldn't we all resist a dry-eyed sermon on hellfire? You can't preach hellfire without your heart breaking. You need to sob your way through a sermon on hellfire, or we'll all refuse a cold, detached attempt to preach it. Why? a basic, blatant lack of genuinely caring. There are some issues you cannot even deal with until your heart breaks. And unless, visibly, it reveals by the emotional content that you genuinely care, then you can deal sternly with some powerful, essential problems. Tools of last resort, attacking the problem, but not the person. Now, here's a vital lesson: profits are better than wages. Once I grasped that, I got rich. Nobody taught me that in high school. I went to college for a year and a half. Never heard it. I was 25 and broke. Not destitute, just broke. Too much month at the end of the money, that's broke. And then I finally heard this philosophy: profits are better than wages. Now, here's the term that goes with it: wages earn you a living, which is wonderful. Profits make you a wealth, which is very fantastic. And you can live both fine and superfine. You now have the mechanism, the ways, and the means to do that. Profits are better than wages. Guess what? I taught this in Moscow when I was teaching capitalism. You know, the communists had it all wrong. They taught that capitalism was just some giant firm that abused its workers. I mean, it was absolutely ludicrous. They had psychologically lost it when they came up with that nonsense. Philosophy teaches that capital belongs to the state, not to the people. For years, we've been taught that capital should be in the hands of the people, not the state. That's why, of course, youngsters should pay taxes. They can be capitalists. All capitalists should pay taxes. It doesn't take much to start a firm that produces a profit. I teach students to have 2 bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. How long does it take to start making a profit? With a little inventiveness, you're on your way. Profits are better than wages, and capitalism is better than communism. Communism believed people were too dumb to handle capital, so they took it away from the public and handed it to the state. They felt the state knew best, yet look at what transpired. Every country they touched was destroyed. I've been to East Germany. It took $1 trillion just to clean it up, with another 500 billion still needed. I've visited to all the countries affected, and they've all been crushed by that philosophy. We teach that capital belongs to the people, where inventiveness rests to bring goods and services to the marketplace. Once I learned this, it was wonderful. Profits are better than wages. When I first got involved, I was a distributor for a small product named Abunda, and here's what my mentor, Mr. Shah, said. Mr. Own, you may start this miraculous business part-time. You don't have to go full-time right immediately. Start part-time. He told me to dedicate about 10 to 15 hours a week, and then I'd start making a profit. Here's what you can say. I'm working full-time at my job, but part-time on my fortune. That got me so pumped. I was working full-time at my job, but now part-time on my fortune. I found a means not merely to make a livelihood, but to build a fortune. Can you imagine waking up to work on your fortune? Not simply to pay rent, but to genuinely produce wealth. I thought to myself, right now, I'm working part-time on my fortune and full-time on my job, but it won't be long until I'll be working full-time on my fortune. Can you envision what that life will be like? My first goal when I started was to match my part-time revenues with my full-time employment income. This is the charm of part-time. It's exhilarating for people to start working part-time, because you can focus on profits, and in no time, with determination, you can earn as much part-time as you do full-time. I did it in less than 6 months. Now, I had a wonderful invitation. I was earning as much part-time on my fortune as I did full-time at my work. Would you like to hear my story? It was great. Then came my second aim, to earn double as much part-time on my fortune as I did full-time at my job. I achieved that in less a year. I was making twice as much money part-time as I was full-time. Now, I had a powerful invitation. I had found a rare opportunity to work part-time on my fortune, and then I was earning twice as much as I did working full time. Would you like to hear my story? Can you imagine anyone saying no? Everyone I spoke to remarked, "Wow, yes! What are you doing?" I replied, "I'm delighted you asked, let me tell you. When I started making twice as much part-time as I did full-time, I faced a dilemma. Why not go full-time? The reason was that I didn't want to give up my fascinating story. It was so compelling that nobody could resist the invitation to at least have a look. I held on to that for a long, but eventually, unwillingly, I gave up my full-time job. Can you fathom the joy and exhilaration of going full-time on my fortune? It was wonderful. Here's another thought that helped improve my life. It's not what occurs that defines your destiny. It's what you do about what happens. We're all in a little sailboat, and it's not the wind that dictates where we go. It's the set of our sail. Remember this, the same wind blows on all of us, the wind of tragedy, the wind of opportunity. The wind of change blows differently depending on how we set our sails. It's the same wind, whether favorable or unfavorable, that impacts everyone. The economic wind, the social wind, the political wind, it all blows on us. The distinction is not in the wind itself, but in how we set our sails. And that's what learning is about, setting a better sail today than we did yesterday. In the first 6 years of my economic life, I ended up broke. In the next 6 years, I became prosperous. You would believe it was because of political changes, but that's not the case. What changed in the second 6 years wasn't politics, it was my mindset. I altered the set of my sails, fixed the errors of my past, and picked up new disciplines for the future. That's all I had to do, rectify my mistakes and learn new techniques for the future. My entire life changed because of that. The second 6 years were radically different from the first 6 of my professional life. And guess what? Anyone can do this. You can choose to keep traveling along the same path for the next couple of years, just as you have for the past 2. Maybe everything is fine for you, but if you want to make a change, you may start today. You can make the next 2 years significantly different from the current 2, and anyone can do it. You can make changes at any age, whether you're 40, 43, 13, 50, or 60. You can transform your life in any 2-year or 5-year period if you wish to. This isn't a law, it's an opportunity. But if you don't know that you can change, then you can find yourself going year after year, not making much progress, just because you never sought out the knowledge that could help you improve your life. Some people miss this, never reading the books, never attending the seminars, never making the discoveries that may have helped them. But if you want to, I'm telling you, you can make the next 3 years radically different from the last 3. All you have to do is a couple things differently. It's not the wind that defines your income or your destiny. It's how you set your sails. That's why we're here today. I hope I can provide some suggestions that will help you trim the sails of your thinking and multiply your rewards over the next 3 years. Chevron invited me years ago to talk with their management. They asked, "Mr. R, you travel the world and have a lot of experience. What do you imagine the next 10 years will be like?" I said, "Gentlemen, I can tell you, the next 10 years will be just like the last 10. The next season after fall is always winter. After day comes darkness. That's not going to change. If you want to understand history, here's Billy Graham's vision. For the last 6,000 years, history has followed a pattern, opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's how it's going to be for the next 6,000 years. Sometimes it will seem like there's more opportunity than trouble. Other times it may feel like the opposite. But the mix won't change. After expansion, there will come recession, and after recession, expansion. To assume otherwise is naive. Once you realize this, you'll know exactly what to do and what to expect. you'll be ready. Here's the key: for things to change, you have to change. I used to hope that the government would change, that taxes would alter, that my boss would be more generous. I yearned for things to change. But my teacher informed me, Mr. Owen, for things to change for you, you have to change. Don't wish for things to be easier. Wish for oneself to be better. This understanding significantly impacted the path of my life. Don't wish for fewer problems. Hope for greater talents. You don't need fewer issues. You need greater talents to handle them. Don't desire for fewer challenges. Hope for more wisdom. When you learn the insight and abilities to tackle life's obstacles, you can alter anything you wish. And I challenge you to do that. If you don't like something, alter it. If it doesn't fit you, modify it. If it doesn't please you, modify it. If it's not enough, modify it. I challenge you to do it because you can change. You don't ever have to stay the same again after tonight, only by choice. If you don't like where you are, change it. You're not a tree. Now let me teach you 3 steps to personal development. Let's dive into the details. What does it truly take to create changes? Starting tomorrow, it requires more than philosophical declarations. I know that. It also takes more than simply zeal. We hear a lot about enthusiasm these days, but that won't get the job done. We're still caught on old cliches from the 30s, like, to be enthusiastic, you must act enthusiastic. But obviously, that won't help. After you've bounced around a while, there are several things you must do, or nothing will change. You can get pumped about lifting 200 pounds, but when you get to the gym, you need a new sort of excitement. And that enthusiasm is called discipline. If there's one thing you should get thrilled about, it's discipline. Discipline is the key to progress. Get thrilled about your ability to make yourself accomplish what needs to be done. What can you make yourself do starting tomorrow that will change everything? Think about it. Now that's exciting. On any one day, you can significantly shift the trajectory of your life. A person's life can be irreversibly transformed in an instant. Murder is a stark illustration of this. It's a negative example, but it shows the concept. Just as one terrible act can change a life, so can one positive deed. You have the power to change your life whenever you choose. Now that's powerful. Let's imagine the guy finally has enough and takes a shotgun to his old, humiliating car. He shoots out every window, breaks every tire, throws 100 rounds into it, and says, "I've driven this thing for the last time. Not only will I never drive it again, nobody else will either." He leaves that broken automobile there as a monument to the day his life changed. Anyone can do that, and you may choose that day whenever you want. Here's the key to discipline. Start with the modest disciplines. Get enthusiastic about the little things and focus on those, since they will lead to bigger things. You can't handle the great issues of life unless you handle the tiny ones first. Make a list of all the things you can do and start there. Discipline yourself for those simple things, for the results, for the muscle, and for the practice. When life offers you with tougher obstacles, you'll be ready. You'll have the muscle to handle it. But if you don't handle the tiny ones, you won't be ready for the large ones. Next, life change involves self-motivation. That's the key. We call it self-motivation, but really, it's the only form of motivation that works. You must motivate yourself. I've learned that you can't change people, only they can change themselves. Lord knows I've tried, but it won't work. People have to alter themselves. I learned this lesson early on. When I was 25, I developed a little sales organization, and I had some terrific people. I thought, I'm going to make these people successful, even if it kills me. But it almost did. You can't do that. Good individuals aren't made, they're found. You don't train good people, you find them. Good training is about identifying good people. If someone requires too much training, you could have the incorrect individual. You've got to locate the proper individuals to get the job done. One of the most essential lessons in management is this: don't send your ducks to Eagle School. It won't work. It doesn't matter how good the school is or how many little eagle badges they give out. If you put a duck in that school, it's still going to be a duck. When the duck goes after its first rabbit, it'll make a friend. You'll know straight away if the training worked, because the duck will still be a duck. So, it needs self-motivation to genuinely transform your life. Don't give your self-motivation to someone else. Don't wait for someone else to motivate you. A person can say, if someone could just come by and get me excited. But what if they don't show up? You need a better plan for your life.